Who is the better unit? We've got Legends Limited Super Gogeta and we've got Legends Limited Super Janemba. Every single time they drop two units at the same time, we gotta answer the question. In the comment section below, let me know who you think is better, who you prefer using, and ultimately what you're happy with, what you're unhappy with. I'm gonna give my deduction in this video and you let me know if you agree or disagree. Let's get into this. So we gotta do a kit refresher so you guys know exactly what they do, and let's start with Super Gogeta. This unit is green and they don't reverse elements, so both sides are green and they are a range type unit. Whenever you tag switch, you will gain health, you will fill the unique gauge, and your enemy's Dragon Balls will decrease by 1, which is only one time. Something very important to note is that their damage numbers are insanely high, as well as their damage guard. At a base 305% and the damage guard 200%, and that increases. For example, per other sagas from the movies or Fusion Warrior battle member, you will get an extra 20% damage and 15% damage guard. On entry, getting a card, key, nullifying cover changes, nullifying damage received, that's type advantage, so you'll be type neutral against the damage you take. You also destroy one of the enemy's cards and reduce their strike and blast art's power. Every strike and blast fills the unique gauge and fills the switch gauge, only one time though, 60%. So it's really good to get to the synchro fast. Also fills the unique gauge 5% when hit by the enemy arts cards. There's a tiny bit of disrupt when you get to below 50% health, minus 100 to the enemy's key. You also gain some HP from that, and he also has the ability to cancel buffs, so from ultimates, awakened arts, special moves, rising rushes, ally sub counts -5, and cancel buff effects, which happens twice, and this switches between Goku and Vegeta. They both do that. They have a time type gauge, so when it becomes full, you get some damage, health restoration, ally health heal, and damage, which is very good. And the synchro of course gets them to Super Gogeta. Now that was Goku's side, but I think something else that's also important to note is that they carry a armor break blast card, as well as on Goku's side, his green card is like a beam, so he throws something at the enemy and it's a long animation. On hit, he'll get extra card and cancel attribute downgrades and abnormal conditions. On Vegeta's side, there's not much different, but his green card isn't a beam, it's just one of those where you stand still. And something different for him, he gets 70% to his vanishing gauge, and that can happen 2 times, so it's pretty good to use Vegeta to get out of sticky situations. Now if we get to Super Gogeta, his main ability allows him to draw a special move, so a blue card. He'll draw 3 cards if he has 3 or fewer, so good combo extension. He gets HP, key, and Dragon Balls, 2 of them, and he also protects his hand, so his next combo after he presses his main is gonna be crazy. Once he fuses or on the battlefield entry, he's gonna get a green card 1 time. He's gonna draw a card if he has 3 or fewer, HP, key, and increase to his damage by 30%, so that's gone up majorly. His unique gauge charge rate will go up 100%, and that's 1 time and it's uncancelable. He can also nullify special cover changes for 5 timer counts on entry, so that means he's able to rush corrupted Zamasu, his counter won't go off, of cover change anyways. He nullifies endurance for 10 timer counts, which is basically permanent as long as you're not 1v3. He nullifies the damage received from element disadvantage, destroys one of the enemy cards, and the blast art's power goes down again from the enemy. When he enters the battlefield, on pressing a strike or blast, he will draw 2 cards and get 50 key, and that resets every time he switches. When hit with the enemy arts card, -2 to sub count, he still cancels buffs when he's hit with a special move, ultimate, awakened arts, or rising rush. The unique gauge is also still a time type, gives him a bunch of buffs, and can also disrupt the enemy. And then regarding his green card, he draws a card, gets HP, gets vanish. It's similar to Goku and Vegeta's, putting them together, but if his unique gauge is full, he'll go type neutral and increase the enemy sub count +2. And his blue card, Final Flash, nullifies endurance for 10 timer counts, so if the person in front of you doesn't cancel buffs, you can still hit the blue card. Even if you miss the blue card, you can still press strikes and blasts to take out the enemy if they do have endurance but no buff cancellation. And it nullifies blast art, so it's no blast armor on it, it just goes through, which means you won't take any damage. That's everything for Super Gogeta. Let's get into Super Janemba now. So here we've got Super Janemba. Super Janemba is a yellow unit and a melee type. His main ability allows him to draw his ultimate arts, gives him HP, key, and ally sub count -5, and also destroys the entire enemy hand. Can be very useful if they have something that's gonna hurt you a lot. His numbers are pretty good as well. At a base level, 325% damage, 235% damage guard, key recovery +50%, draw speed, protect hand for 50 timer counts so none of his cards can get destroyed, and endurance, 40% recovery. When he enters the battlefield, the only thing he doesn't get is a card, but his unique gauge is going to go to 100%, he's going to get HP, key, be type neutral against damage received for 5 timer counts, but he disrupts the enemy a lot, so enemy key -35, destroys all enemy special/special move arts, so green and blue cards, and that's 3 times. When he's on the battlefield and the enemy cover changes, he will draw a blue card, and that's 1 time. His blue card's going to be important, I'll get into that later. Note that also resets threats every time he switches, but he will also get ki plus 40, critical damage plus 10% for 5 timer counts, and allied damage plus 15% for 15 timer counts. When on battlefield an enemy performs a special cover change, this can happen 2 times, ally sub counts -3, and seal the enemy's special move art for 5 timer counts. When hit by enemy arts 1 time, activations reset on switch, seal enemy rising rush 5 counts, or enemy ki recovery -60, or enemy draw speed -2. He's basically there to stop you in your tracks. You can get a little bit off, but it's not going to be a lot. When on battlefield an enemy activates special move / ultimate art, awakened arts, rising rush, the typical here, he has cancellation of buffs, buff cancellation, and that pairs very well with his endurance, which I mentioned earlier. Ally health plus 10%, ally sub counts -5. In addition to all of that, he also has a time type gauge, so his gauge is going to fill up gradually, but on the first time it's consumed, he'll get a set of buffs, so he'll draw a card, ki, damage which is uncancelable, draw speed, and he nullifies cover changes. But the second one and onwards, he will also get vanish recovery, which resets on switch, and then extra damage to the next arts hit, 80%, non-stacking uncancelable, critical rate increase, and he goes type neutral. Only for 2 timer counts though. His gauge charges rapidly on the battlefield, and once you press a strike, blue, blast, ultimate art, it will be consumed completely. He does debuff the enemy of his strike and blast, so he's building up damage received against the enemy. His green card's the grab type, so he's going to move forward, it can combo into everything. He's going to draw a card off it off pressing it, get ki, and also get extra damage 1 time, which is uncancelable. If he hits it, his next blue card will be cheap, -20, and the enemy's health restoration will be -50%. Also from the blue card, on activation he will get 30% extra damage, so that adds to his base, and he also does 30% special move damage. He'll also put the enemy down -80 for their ki. As you can see, he has a bit of disrupt all over the place. And his ultimate arts, on activation, draw ultimate arts 1 time, so he actually has 2 ultimate arts. From pressing the ultimate, you get another ultimate, so even if you miss it, you can follow it up with another, and that's lined up with other things from pressing the ultimate, such as getting his vanishing gauge back 100% for the first time, extra ultimate damage, and nullify endurance 3 timer counts. Also, if you're past 60 timer counts, his ultimate is even better. He'll get an additional 30% on top of that, and 2 Dragon Balls. He has regular blast armor on his ultimate though, unlike Gogeta, who has the nullify blast art when charging forward. That's everything for Super Janemba. Let's actually get into comparing them. So the first thing I think we should discuss is their individual value. Who's better at an individual level? Basically implying who has the better kit. And honestly here, there's 2 ways you can go about this. I think Super Janemba has the better kit. I think the template for his kit is overall better, but for this argument, who is going to be better in PvP if you just had to rely on that one unit? And that answer, for me at least, is Super Gogeta. The reason that is simply because he does more damage. The damage numbers in Super Gogeta's kit is absolutely outrageous, and just off damage, he will eclipse Super Janemba. I also want to put out that Super Gogeta is literally built to counter Super Janemba. For example, he nullifies endurance every time he enters the battlefield, which means in most cases, Janemba won't be able to cancel Super Gogeta's buffs to stop him nullifying endurance. For 10 timer count on entry, that means from strikes, blasts, tap attacks, quick dashes, whatever you're doing, you will be able to nullify Super Janemba's endurance if you're using Super Gogeta. And that also goes for every other endurance unit in the meta. Let me also point out that with Janemba's disrupt, he's reducing ki and also stopping you from drawing cards, right? But Gogeta, pressing his main ability, he will basically get a full deck. He'll also be able to extend that combo off of his main ability alone, so he doesn't need to rely on draw speed, and of course he'll get ki off that. Or the disrupt doesn't really get in the way if Super Gogeta is literally going to do so much damage and also spawn cards out of thin air. So even though against the rest of the game, Janemba is maybe going to be a bigger threat because he has survivability while being able to do some offensive damage and also keeping himself safe through his disrupt, Super Gogeta is going to tear through him and everybody else in the game, being one of the highest, if not the highest damaging unit in the game. So even though I'm taking Super Gogeta because he's more likely to take you out, Super Janemba is the safer option because of the survivability, unless Super Gogeta is in front of you and you're using Janemba. So for this, I'm going to be taking Super Gogeta just off damage. If I was to give you an analogy of what's going on here, in football, a lot of players have so much things in their bag. So many dribble moves, IQ, strength, all these factors that play in. But ultimately, one player can just be the fastest on the pitch, and if you can't catch them, they are going to beat you every single time. And that's how I see Super Gogeta with damage. It's literally just he's too powerful. Plus the endurance nullification, he's going to tear through everyone in PvP. So for that individual value, I'm going Super Gogeta. Next up, we got meta value. Now meta value is how they fit on teams and the people they're surrounded by, do they mesh well with them. In this case, I think it should be a no-brainer that Janemba would be the better option for any team. But it could also go the other way. Arguing individual individual value, some units' individual value, and how I chose Super Gogeta, it can be so high that on any team, Super Gogeta can be a must run. And if you must run him, he's also going to have more meta value as a result. Even though Janemba has a better kit overall, at least for right now, he is still somewhat of a victim to Super Gogeta based on his stats just being that high. The way I play PvP, I prefer high damaging units. So for meta value, I would easily go Super Gogeta. I feel like he would be more likely to be a must run. And I'll say generally speaking, there's less purples to be afraid of. There's really only Metal Cooler, who's not going to be run that much even though he got a buff, and Ultra Corrupted Zamasu. But the reds are quite threatening. Ultra Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Red Merge Zamasu. I know what two I'm more afraid of. So for that reason, for meta value, I'm also going to have to go Super Gogeta. But if somebody wanted to argue that Janemba can fit better on teams because of his teammates, he's on a powerful opponent team with Android 13, Red Merge Zamasu. He's also on the movies team, which can also be run with Super Gogeta. But in this case, we're putting them against each other. And because of that, I have to take Super Gogeta. But I could see the arguments going the other way, even though I don't personally agree with them. Now, the art cards, this one's kind of a no diff. And I will also say it's a no diff because Gogeta literally has more art in his unit. You have the Goku and Vegeta pre-transform, then you also have the Super Gogeta. So let me just do a 2v1 basically and say Super Gogeta out the gate, but let me appreciate both of them. First off, I'm taking the Goku and Vegeta art over the Super Janemba art because of the glow on the outside of Goku and Vegeta. That white outline, that hue that they put on the units really stands out to me and at least makes it pop, as a result catching my attention earlier than Super Janemba's art would. I think the halo on Vegeta and the slight yellow glows here and there on the art also makes it better. So if I was doing the pre-transform against Super Janemba, I would pick the pre-transform. But regarding the post-transform, even though I'm going to go Super Gogeta's art, I think it's closer. I actually prefer the pre-transform art over the post-transform art, even though Super Gogeta just does look cool. I think Super Janemba is on the exact same level as the Super Gogeta artwork. It's simply down to preference of what character you prefer or how they look, and this is going to be very opinionated, but it's also how they put the colors together, which I think is less opinionated. And because of that, even though I'm giving it to Super Gogeta for him just having more artwork, I think at least for the post transformations, it can go either way very easily, but nonetheless, this is the most opinionated category in the whole video. So you guys let me know what you guys think about the artworks, as your taste is your taste. Now, the final category for the video is longevity. Who's going to last longer in PvP? Ultimately, I cannot say who's 100% going to last longer because we do not know what else they're going to release that could hinder the progress of both of these units. They could drop a purple unit that completely slaughters Gogeta. They could also drop a red unit that completely slaughters Janemba. We do not know, so I can't give a 100% true answer, but I can give an answer based on previous units in Dragon Ball Legends history. We do see that in Dragon Ball Legends, history does repeat itself because certain things in kits always have the upper hand against other things in kits. So for this, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to be going Legends Limited Super Janemba. Super Janemba having endurance and buff cancellation means that he will be unkillable if there isn't a unit that can nullify endurance. In this case, it is Super Gogeta, but Super Gogeta is heavily reliant on his stats, and we know that power creep is a continuous thing in Dragon Ball Legends. Every time we reach a dangerous meta, everybody asks the question, why is this unit so overpowered? When are they going to fall off? And when that unit does fall off, which happens 100% of the time, nobody can escape falling off in Dragon Ball Legends. People are like, damn, how the hell did they fall off? Well, it's simple. Power creep. New units release, they have higher stats, more recent stats, they're on the boost as well, more teams are relevant around the newer units. Ultimately, the older units won't last in PvP. But there are some factors that keep units alive. For example, having endurance, survivability is always great, especially if you have decent damage already, which is another factor. And if you can cancel buffs, that means nobody can nullify your endurance very easily if they hit a big attack such as a blue card, ultimate arts, awakened arts, rising rush, etc. Janemba as a result should have more life on him if he doesn't get directly countered than Super Gogeta, because Super Gogeta's lifespan is simply based on him phasing out based on his stats not being enough to be valued in PvP. Whereas with Janemba, even if his stats aren't the greatest, he still has that survivability aspect. So as long as his team can still be run, and right now there are a lot of powerful opponents, there's also a lot of sagas from the movies characters, I see Janemba easily having more life than Super Gogeta, although I've taken Super Gogeta for individual value right now and meta value right now in Dragon Ball Legends. So yeah, for longevity, we're going to be taking Super Janemba. That's going to be the end of the video. If we tally up the score, it's a 3-1 final to Super Gogeta, taking individual value, meta value, and the art card, with Super Janemba but only taking the longevity factor. I think a lot of these can be argued either way, but my opinion is my opinion. And I have made this video early, and things are due to change when more units release, Zenkai's release, and also other equipments such as platinum equipments. But let me know your opinion in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.